My name is Claire, and the kids call me Miss Carrots. I'm the garden teacher here at Adams Elementary School.
Great.
So we teach the kids about how to grow food. We also teach the kids about ecology in general. We have a worm bin here, which makes amazing worm compost, and they get to participate in the whole process. So we will take garden waste and feed the worms, and they love to just get into the worm bin, and I talk a lot about decomposition and how important that is for the creation of soil, and how without the worms and all of their friends that we would not have good healthy soil to grow the next round of vegetables. So then we'll harvest the worm castings from the worm bin and mix it in and make worm tea and put it in our garden, and then we harvest the food and we eat it. So what I'm hoping that they have is a very full experience of planting the seeds or the starts, nurturing them, taking care of them, feeding them with all this homegrown fertilizer, and then harvesting the yummy vegetables and enjoying them. So they hopefully see that whole process.
Have many of them had this experience before of growing things?
I would say that there's a fair amount that garden with their families at home, but there's also a fair amount that don't. So even if they garden at home, I don't think that their parents are necessarily trying to educate them about fertilizer or about using the waste to turn into fertilizer. They might, but not all home gardeners do composting. So I feel like even if they do have some home gardening, that they're gonna get more with an educational program like this. And then of course there's the ones who have no experience of it. They don't grow food at home, and they think that vegetables come wrapped in plastic, right? So for them, I think it's extremely important to see this process and to understand that they could grow it themselves.
And how else is it important to them to know what the process is?
Well, we always try to frame it in the larger picture. I really help them, I hope anyway, I help them understand that this world that we live in needs them, and it needs them to not waste things, to not trash things, to take care of these unbelievable ecosystems that we have. And I try, hopefully, to teach them not to be afraid of bees and worms and all these things, and spiders, all these things that they might think are like yucky. But hopefully what we're doing here is giving them this introduction to the natural world, and helping them realize that we're all interconnected and they're not separate from it. So that's kind of the bigger picture that I hope that they're getting.
Neat. Are they aware?
Hi guys.
Are they aware that of the importance of gardening and plants, and I guess you try to imbue that in them, the importance of it. Any thoughts about that?
Yes. I feel like the importance of plants is pretty much our entire reason for being here. The importance of both native plants and flowers and trees and all that, and the importance of edible gardening and the way that they actually go together. Like, one reason I really love this particular garden is because we have an orchard and we have a garden beds, but then we also have a bioswale in the back with a whole bunch of native plants. So this particular garden, it has such rich biodiversity, and a lot of topics come up because of all the little critters and creatures that we have here. And so I really hope that what we're doing is imbuing them with this sense of, like, there's not nature over there. It's not like, oh, there's life and then there's nature. Like, nature is everywhere, even if you live in a city, and you can be as totally in touch with it as you want to be. So I hope that what they're getting is a love for gardening, a love for the outdoors, a love for the chaos of nature and the beauty of nature, and more than anything, I feel like I want them to feel like they have a hand in it. I want them to feel like it's their world and they need to take care of it, and that it's fun to take care of it and it brings joy. I would say that pretty much most of my kids, 99% of them, really love garden. They're so excited to come here and they're so enthusiastic and they really want to help. So I'm trying to channel all that enthusiasm into actual environmental stewardship, and I think for the most part it's working.
The bioswale you have there, is that to capture water, and how do you water?
Oh, well, it's not so much to capture water for our garden. What it is it was already a runoff from storm drains, and it used to just be cement, and it was just like water would just kind of rush through there. So before my time here, some people worked on it to turn it into a bioswale. So they planted native plants, they took out all the concrete, and now it's an actual creek. So we now have frogs and interesting lizards and, you know, all sorts of bird life and all sorts of insect life is living there now. So now the kids get to have this little mini nature preserve right here at their school. And I think it's great because sometimes somebody will say something like, oh, that's poisonous. Don't touch that. That'll kill you. And I get to be like, no, it's not poisonous. It's okay. You know, you just be a little more brave and get your hands a little bit dirty, and it's going to be fun and you'll live through it.
Would you say kids have much appreciation for the value of water, realizing that it's scarce and that it nourishes the plants, so we need to protect the amount of water we need?
It varies. Yes, I think some kids are really aware that we have a drought and that they should be careful with it. Some kids are not. I think some kids, if you hand them the hose, they will just, you know, spray it everywhere. But hopefully we're teaching them that. Yeah.
Do you know whether any of the kids' parents work in farms or gardens?
Yeah, actually, some of them do. Definitely, they've told me. Yes. Not a lot of them, but certainly some of them. And then a lot of them have told me that they do a lot of home gardening, which I love. Yeah.
Are you or they aware of indigenous knowledge at all that is passed on from indigenous cultures to how to garden and all?
Do you mind if I take this off? I'm getting really warm. Hi. I'm aware that I don't know as much about indigenous cultures as I would like to, so it's on my radar as something that I'm interested in studying more of. I don't think that they are very aware of it. I think I probably only have, I don't know, 1 or 2 kids that are actually descended from natives. So sadly, we're still in the era where we're kind of haven't really brought it back and celebrated it enough. But I know that there are people that are all about that. So I've been trying to kind of connect with them and learn about it. Like, for example, there's a teacher I just met, and she's out in Goleta School District, and she has middle school kids, and she is dying to get a garden that is all the native plants that you can eat. So I'm going to be working on that project with her, and hopefully maybe you'll interview me again and I'll have more knowledge next time. But it's not really the particular purview of our garden, but I'm personally really interested in it. Yeah.
And I guess medicinal plants, do they come up in it at all, or are the kids aware of it?
My fans over there. The idea of medicinal plants comes up sometimes, like say if we're talking about aloe vera or mugwort, for example, just those little sort of natural remedies that are easy and that are around. I think, again, it's something that I would like to build more into this. As it is, I only have the kids a half an hour a week. So, you know, you don't really get the time to go in depth. I'm guessing that they probably do a lot more of that at like the high school level. And maybe in particular, like there's schools up in the valley, up in San Ynez and North County area that they might do a little more of that. I'd be happy to connect you with them, actually. But I feel like, oh, look at that. Oh, they were like doing a little dance. Did you see that? That was so sweet. Oh my God. Sorry, I got distracted by the hummingbirds dancing.
Plants attract the animals.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I learned a lot about native plants when I built the garden in Los Angeles, but we really made it more about pollinators and native plants and riparian areas and forest areas, and and then we had our edible garden. So we didn't really put native plants that were edible in there. I think that unfortunately school districts get very repressive and scared, and they have a lot of liability issues, which is understandable but unfortunate. So I think that they like are worried about like, oh, what are you eating? Whereas if I'm growing tomatoes, that's familiar, cucumbers, you know, kale, whatever. So I don't know. I hope that we get more of the native knowledge passed down, because I agree, it's super important. And I think we're right on that edge where if people don't start to learn about it, that we're going to have some very serious food insecurity issues.
Do you know whether any of the kids have food security issues?
I'm sure there are many. Yeah. The cafeteria feeds everybody, no questions asked. So they don't really talk about it, but what I know about food insecurity is that it's far more rampant than we would like to admit. And, you know, it's a public school, so I'm sure there's a lot of them.
You know if the kids are aware of climate warming, global warming, climate issues, and how the earth can pull the carbon out and help with global warming, and the plants and all help with that? You know?
Yeah, I mean, when I was teaching the upper grades, I had a whole section on soil and with the fourth graders, and we talked to them about how little usable good soil is left once you take all the land that's been developed and paved over and polluted, and, you know, so they were really struck by that. Like a few of my kids, 10, 11-year-olds, like, what? There's only like that much good land left? Well, we have to protect that. So definitely as they get a little older and they get introduced to that stuff, I think they get a little feeling of like, well, what are we gonna do? Which is exciting. I think definitely some are aware of climate change. We always kind of have to balance the truth with the fact that they're kids and, you know, making it age appropriate. And I don't want to scare anyone. Sort of like I'm hoping to make them aware of it and get them feeling empowered that they can do something, rather than just present the really, you know, overwhelmingly awfulness that just sometimes then just makes you feel defeated. You know, I would want them to leave my class feeling like, I can do something about this. Yes, there's global warming. Yes, there's a drought. You know, yes, there's toxins everywhere. But me and my generation, we're going to be conscious about this, and we're going to care about it, and we can do something. You know, I mean, that's the message I'm spreading anyway.
Nice. What was I going to ask? Well, is there something about working with plants sense that it's tangible and it helps them to learn about the natural world more than something academic?
I think so. I think part of the reason they love coming out here is exactly that. They get their hands on things. They get their hands dirty. You know, they get to actually experience it. Seeing a picture in a book is great. It's great, but it's not the same as touching it. So it's just a visceral experience. So, and I love it when someone will be like, oh, that's my first time doing that. Like, I just love that because now they have that experience and it's a memory for them. So it'll mean more, right?
What do you teach kids about the vermiculture, is it called?
Yeah.
What do you tell them, or what do they understand about it?
Well, they understand that we have to actually make our soil richer. They understand that there is a difference between soil and dirt. They understand that there is this whole team of creatures, the decomposition team, that is vital to our world. And that once you get over that initial feeling of, ooh, it's yicky, and you kind of just get past that, then it becomes really fascinating and they love it. Like sometimes if I don't have a plan for the class, I'll be like, open up the worm bin. And they're just excited and entertained for, you know, they can do it all day long. And also I really love when at first they go, ew, gross, ew, I don't want to hold that. And then like a few minutes later, they're like, ah, look at my worm friend, his name is Bob, you know? So it's really fun, actually, yes, getting the yuckiness and, you know, like the mold and all that and getting an appreciation for it. I also tell them, like, who takes out your trash, right? What if those guys didn't take out your trash? What would happen? And then they stop and they're like, oh, we would have a lot of garbage. I'm like, so that's who these guys are. There are trash guys, right? So we have to be so grateful for the decomposing team. And hopefully anyway, they have a whole nother understanding of it. I think that's the type of thing that just happens. You don't think about it, right? It's like you flush the toilet. You don't think about where it goes. But now they're kind of thinking about, oh, well, where does it go? Where does the trash go? What does it turn into? You know, so the vermicomposting is fun because I refer to the worm castings as gold. I'm like, let's get some gold, you guys. And then we'll go mining for gold. And they're like, wow, that looks like, you know, chocolate. I'm like, no, it's gold. And like, you know, we just have fun with it. But I think that without that experience, it would be an idea. Whereas this is now something they remember and they can share with others.
Nice. In a moment, I'll have you show me the verb. I know we need to wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the experience of kids in gardens and the value for them to be gardeners?
Well, I feel like that kids should be in the garden every day. It connects them with a sense of themselves that I don't think that you can achieve inside. It connects them with each other. And it also really activates their compassion because most kids really love animals. So I love being able to transfer this love that they're having for this little roly-poly into, like, you know, you should love everyone like that, right? We're all the same, like the roly-polies and you and me, we're all equally unimportant and equally important. And so I feel like that's really what we're doing here is it's bigger than just the actual knowledge they're getting. It's a sense of how are we gonna make it in this very uncertain future.
Well, excellent. Do you have a couple seconds more to show me?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to get your B-roll.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, what are you going to show me now?
Well, this is our pollinator area that you can see that they planned it with there's a butterfly in the middle and there's like the wings there. That's where we have all of our butterfly plants, our salvias and sages and coyote bush and whatnot. In the fall, this thing has lots of blossoms on it, and this is covered in bees. So like when we were studying the pollinators with the 6th graders, and they were coming out here and doing like pollinator counts. So this would be the first place they would go because they would know that there'd be lots of bees here. And here's some of our fruit trees, our orange trees, tangerines, figs, etc. And this, ta-da, very exciting, vermicompost. Of course, there's regular earthworms everywhere, but these in here are the red wigglers, and they're really fun. What I really love too is that like the first day I was introduced to this, my trainer just stuck her hands in here, and I was like, really? Really? And now I'm like, oh, look, what are we doing? See, I'm not scared of it at all. So this on the top has already gotten really rich. Like you see how it's like fudge kind of? Yeah. And also, I do this all the time. Like here, smell it. Like you'd think all this stuff smells yucky, right? But it doesn't. It doesn't smell yucky at all. It smells really clean. Yeah, so there's that. And then also here's the little red wigglers. Like here's a really tiny one. But they're these little sort of dark red worms. And that one must be a little bit asleep because sometimes they really flop around and they really earn that nickname. Anyway, so this is the top of the bin. I haven't fed it in a while, so it's a little low, but I'm gonna put some more food in here today.
What do you put in there?
Just food that is from the kitchen, just any kind of fruits or vegetables. Sometimes a little bit of bread, but not that much. Coffee is okay, eggshells is okay. Mainly just no acids, so no citrus, no meats, no cheeses, stuff like that. So this is all happening up here. And then down below is where we harvest the actual castings. And so we go in here. And again, it seems like, oh, it's yucky, there's spiders. But oh, there's a lot of it back there. There we go. So this is stuff that people actually pay a lot of money for. You can see all those little tiny little springtails. You see all those little white guys crawling around? Yeah. That is part of a sign of some very healthy vermicompost. Basically these guys, the soil is alive. You can also kind of see that it's really rich, like it has a little shininess to it, little minerals. As much, like I try to mostly put really good vegetables in here. So the worms have been eating kale, and they're eating celery, and they're eating Brussels sprouts, and they're eating like good food, so that then it goes through their system, and they have this incredible digestion system that adds all these microorganisms to it, so that when it comes out of them on the other side, it's actually better than it was when it went in. We can't say that, right? We're the opposite. We're like, ew. So it's always fun. By the way, you want to talk to kids about poop, they will love you, right? You'll instantly be their friend.
Do they get to spread the castings?
Yes, exactly. So we harvest it, and then we'll like distribute it on top of the garden. So they're really getting the very hands-on, start to finish. So we put the vegetables in here. They've all seen me do this. They help me out. We also add some carbon. You also add carbon to compost, but you probably knew that. So that's why the cardboard and the straw. Sometimes we put coffee chaff in there, and then they eat it, and then we harvest it, and so they see this whole process. And more than anything, I love feeding them because kids, of course, love eating, and they will remember you. You gave them one good thing one time, they will always remember. So I always tie it back. One of the first lessons we do is called Dirt Made My Lunch. It's a really sweet book that we use. But it's kind of funny, like dirt made my lunch, what? And then we get into what that means. So I do feel like, hopefully anyway, they have a greater appreciation for where their food comes from, and that it's not just always going to be this way. We have to make it this way. You know, if we don't keep working on this, that it'll go away. I mean, I hope so. You can maybe interview some of my little fans over there and see if they've retained one thing I've told them.
Well, thanks so much, Claire. I really appreciate it. And do we have your permission? And what is this?
These are just some monarch caterpillars.
You brought them for the kids?
Yes, I brought them for the kids because there's really no better way to show life cycle than the monarch caterpillar. It's just such a beautiful process. And these caterpillars are cute, so kids immediately love them. And of course, everyone loves monarch butterflies. So it's just a beautiful thing to witness and be a part of. I've been doing this. This is what got me into the gardening thing, actually, was this. Because when James, my son, was in kindergarten, I thought, well, I want to do something cool. And somebody mentioned butterflies. You just plant milkweed. And I was kind of like, oh, what? And next thing you know, I'm here. I became totally obsessed. I just love these guys. They're so cute. And then the eggs hatch, and then they just start eating. What? Oh? Isn't he so cute? So this one is very, very big, and he's probably very close to the transition time. I know a lot about butterflies. I could geek out about it forever, but yeah, right? So cool.
Do the kids ever get to see them?
Yeah, I'm going to take these into the classroom.
Oh, okay.
I did have some of them hold some last week, and there were some casualties, so I'm going to rethink the way that I do it.
Not of the kids, but of
the caterpillars. Yeah, right? I'm like, back off away from my caterpillar. I don't care if you live or die. No, sorry, just kidding, kids. This one girl was holding it, and then she comes up to me and she's like, it's not moving anymore. I'm like, why? I don't know. I'm like, did you drop it? Did you squeeze it? Like, what happened? Something happened.
So there's some lessons about life and death here.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. There's definitely lessons. Well, there's always lessons about life and death. And that's another thing I try to do is like, you know, there's life cycles. Don't be afraid of death. It's part of the life cycle. We wouldn't have life if we didn't have death. So, you know, I did say that one time to some TKers, and I maybe hit it a little hard. And one of them was like, I'm scared. I shouldn't have done that. But I usually try to introduce it in a way that's just matter of fact. That's just how it is. You know, the sun rises, the sun sets. We're born, we die. It's just how it is. So enjoy the time you have now. Right?
That's a good ending there.